actually have more government shutdown updates for you. A lot is happening. The funding bill that will officially end the shutdown is through the Senate and now it's going to the House. It could receive a vote as early as today, which is Wednesday. We know that House members are flying and getting back to DC finally, so there is going to be movement on this side. Of course, after the House votes, it still has to be signed on the president's desk, but once that happens, federal workers will be back in the office. But what does this mean for federal workers like me? It means something different depending on your agency, right? So once the bill is signed into law, my agency has a rule where it's about 12 hours. So it sort of depends on when does the vote go through and when does the bill actually get signed, because then the clock will start. So it might be the next morning, but there's a possibility it'll actually be the next day. Now, for me, it won't change anything because I am working this week. I am rotated in, so nothing is changing for me. I am fairly positive I am officially back at work for good, but of course, a lot can happen. Now, I will be reminding people of this left and right. This is only going to fund the government through January 30th. A lot can happen between then, and a lot still needs to get sorted out. I hope we're not going to be right back here in a couple months, but nobody knows. Thanks for following along, guys. Bye.
The Senate's still voting to reopen the government, but 8 Democrats have sided with Republicans on their appropriation bill, the clean continuing resolution, if you will, that came out of the House of Representatives. And it's not going to reopen the government tonight. The government won't be reopened tomorrow because there were changes, which means it has to go to the House of Representatives, and Mike Johnson has the House on a 48-hour recall. And there's no guarantee that he'll actually bring this up for a vote because he seems to have wanted the House to remain closed. But those 8 senators that voted in favor of the Republican bill are Hassan from New Hampshire, King from Maine, Kane from Virginia, Shaheen from New Hampshire, who's retiring, Fetterman from Pennsylvania, Cortez Masto from Nevada, Rosen from Nevada, and Durbin from Illinois. Now, across the board, they all say it's gone on long enough. They're considered centrist Democrats, and they said it was time to open the government. Realistically, it seems like corporations called them, businesses called them, because the American people as a whole, even the majority of federal workers I'm talking to who have gone without pay now for more than 40 days, didn't want them to vote in favor of the Republican bill that will strip millions of Americans from their health care. Now, my Senator Ossoff, he ended up voting no. Initially, earlier today, I reported he was a yes vote based upon Axios and The Hill reporting, but due to a number of constituents calling his office in DC, he ended up voting no. Now, I haven't been able to confirm that he was a yes vote other than that reporting, but I will reach out tomorrow and see if I can get an answer from his office. That's where we stand. This has to go to the House of Representatives. There's no guarantee it will be brought up there. The shutdown is not ending tonight. The shutdown's not ending tomorrow. There will be a few days in the Senate before this moves to the House, and then the House will take it up where Democrats have said they will stand firm, and they believe they have enough Republicans on their side to make certain that the Affordable Care Act subsidies get extended, that this bill might fail in the House if it's brought to the floor.
The government shutdown has now been resolved. The Senate voted on the government funding bill. They needed 60 votes to pass it. The vote was 60-40, enough to get it through the Senate. 52 Republicans voted in favor, and 8 Democrats voted in favor. So the bill is now advancing to the House of Representatives, and Speaker of the House, Johnson, has called back the House of Representatives to vote on the bill. The bill is expected to be voted on sometime this week, most likely tomorrow, on Wednesday. And it is expected to pass because they just need a simple majority in the House of Representatives to get it through. Now, once the House of Representatives passes the government funding bill, then it's going to advance to President Trump. And President Trump has backed this bill. Therefore, once he receives it, he's going to sign it. And ultimately, the government shutdown has now been resolved. All right, now, with that being said, what is in this government funding bill? Did the Republicans get what they wanted? Did the Democrats get what they wanted? Okay, here's what happened. There are 100 seats in the Senate. The Republicans control 53 of them. To pass a bill in the Senate, they need to get 60 votes. Therefore, even though the Republicans have the majority in the Senate, they still have to work with the Democrats to get the necessary 60 votes. And the Republicans and Democrats were clashing over the expiring Obamacare subsidies. They're going to expire on December 31st of this year. But to be fair, I mean, they were fighting over many things, but this was the biggest disagreement. This was their focus. Now, here's the agreement. The Senate Republicans promised the Democrats that they'll hold a vote on the Obamacare subsidies, whether to extend them or not. The deal was that they're going to take a vote on this by the second week of December. But I want to bring this to your attention. Just think about it. The agreement is that they're going to vote on this, but is it going to pass? Well, they're saying that the votes on extending the Obamacare subsidies that they're going to do, it is expected to fail in the Senate. And that's why the Democratic Party, especially the leaders of the Democrats in the House and the Senate, are very upset with the 8 Democratic senators that voted with the Republicans to reopen the government. Now, I want to tell you this, and this is the crazy part where you're probably going to just want to shake your head in disgust. So you have to realize that this bill is just a temporary government funding bill that's going to keep the government funded until the end of January, so January 30th of next year. So that's about 2.5 months away, right? Now, I want you to think about that. They're going to vote on the extension of the Obamacare subsidies sometime in December, right? And that is expected to fail. So what do you think is going to happen? The Democrats are going to be pissed. And then what do you think is going to happen when January 30th rolls around? The Republicans and Democrats are going to be butting heads again, and then there's the real possibility of another government shutdown just 2.5 months from now. And then we got to go through all this drama again. That is the situation. It's expected to pass in the House very shortly, advance to President Trump. He's going to sign it, and then I'm going to win my bet. Please subscribe. Thank you for the support, and I wish you a very nice day. Take care.
Solve the problem and not just subsidize insurance companies.
So you're not committing to bringing up a bill that deals with the Obamacare subsidies before they expire?
I'm not committing to it or not committing to it.
Let's be very clear what just happened. Republicans caused the longest government shutdown in American history. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. This was strategic to inflict the greatest amount of pain on hardworking Americans. We're talking 42 million Americans were denied their food assistance. Food. Trump literally went to court to make sure people would starve. Do you hear me? He fought to take food away from families. 42 million Americans lost access to food. Healthcare premiums are about to skyrocket, and all of this suffering is 100% intentional. And if you're like me, you're thinking, why? What is the benefit to all this cruelty? Republicans don't want Americans having access to affordable healthcare. And don't take my word for it, Republicans have tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act over 70 times in the last 15 years. They just enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, and they just held the government hostage to avoid giving hardworking families health care. So yeah, yesterday the Senate made a deal to open the government back up, but it's not a good deal. And look, I'm going to be fully transparent with you. I am feeling pissed and betrayed by the Senate Democrats who voted for this and put us in this position. Because this isn't a win. Sure, it's stopping the unthinkable suffering Republicans caused. For now. Now let's get to why this deal is such trash, shall we? Yes, it funds the government through January 30th. Yes, it forces Senate Republicans to vote in December on whether or not to extend the ACA tax credits that help over 20 million Americans afford their health care. But do you see a problem yet? Think back to that clip at the beginning. Let me help you out. The Senate's not enough. We need the House. And you just heard Mike Johnson say straight out, he's not committing to voting on it because he doesn't want to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits that help over 20 million people afford their health care. He's made that crystal clear. So yeah, like I said, pissed as to how we found ourselves here, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting. So yeah, the fight is in the House, and we need to hold Trump and Republicans accountable, which means forcing Mike Johnson to bring the ACA tax credits to a vote. So here's what we're all going to do, and I do mean all of us. We're going to call our representatives at 202-224-3121, and here's what we're going to say. I'm calling to demand that you extend the ACA tax credits that lower the cost of healthcare for over 20 million Americans. Look, Republicans caused the longest government shutdown in American history to deny people affordable health care. They went to court to starve 42 million Americans. Call your representatives. 202-224-3121.
The Senate bill has passed to reopen the government. It'll go to the House now. It is expected to be voted on there by Wednesday this week. House members are traveling on their way back to D.C. right now. The 8 Democrats voted for it to pass. All the Republicans voted for it except for Rand Paul. Now, if the House passes it and the government reopens, we go forward and we do this all over again on January 30th. this only funds the government until then. So why did these Democrats cave to the Republicans and agree to do this? It's the question everyone's asking, everyone's trying to figure out. I think a big part of it has to do with the airlines. The airlines have been lobbying very hard since over a week ago to get Democrats to sign this bill and reopen the government. Those efforts seem to have quadrupled once Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, started ratcheting down and cutting the amount of air traffic each day. We know now that the CEOs of the major airlines were calling senators personally that they had relationships with, pleading with them to reopen the government, basically telling them that the airlines were going to go under if they didn't do something. So could this deal have been a decision made on whether to wait out to get healthcare subsidies extended, or have to possibly bail out the airline industry? Was the airline industry more important than people's health care? Could that be what this was about? Let me know what you guys think. Comment what you think about it. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Massive fucking news. I have to sit down and tell you this update about the government shutdown. So, thanks to the 8 Democrat senators and the entire GOP, the ACA will probably go away. People will lose their lives because of this bullshit that our government is doing. My name is Hunter Howell, and I'm here to report on the unbiased news, which is 8 Democrat senators voted recently with the Republicans to reopen our government on a pinky promise that at some point in December, the GOP says, yeah, we might vote on the ACA in December, which, by the way, they would vote no. They didn't say they would vote yes. They just said, oh, yeah, well, we might take a vote on it in December. Pinky promise. A few days ago, that passed. It went through a couple of the procedural votes. Final vote last night, it passed. Going to the House of Representatives, where they only need a simple majority to pass this. Every House Democrat could vote no, and it could still pass because the GOP, the Republicans, have the House. People are going to get kicked off their insurance. Premiums are going to skyrocket. And because people then won't be able to afford their insurance, some people will lose their lives. This is just math. This is just data. Okay? People will lose their lives because of the fuck-ass entire Republican Party, but the 8 Democrat senators who caved, who lost their courage, who didn't stand up for Americans. So yeah, these 40 days, some people go, they were for nothing. All the pain that people went through the shutdown, yeah. It does almost seem like it was for nothing. I'll keep you updated when I know more news. My name is Hunter Howell. I'm sending you my love. Intern, please respond with some love in the comments. It's really cold out here, so some warm, loving comments would be great. A repost, share. Follow me for more news.
To the moms that have been using ByHeart formula and are looking for a change, I am happy to share that we have been using Kendamil whole milk formula since literally Brooks came home from the hospital, and we are obsessed with it. And I looked at ingredients and just experiences from different moms with their babies, knowing that it was from Europe and their standards are very different than the US standards. We were automatically sold. My husband and I are fortunate enough to be able to choose whatever formula we want for our son. When we were talking through and agreed to trying to start a family, we knew that we wanted to give our baby the best of the best when it came to formulas and food and diapers. We honestly don't even check the price, compare the price for formulas and diapers. We just use what has always worked best for Brooks and what does work best for Brooks. I understand not everybody is as fortunate to be able to do that, but when we, were looking at finances and agreed to start a family, those were non-negotiables for us. Yes, Kendamil is a little bit more on the expensive side. No formula is cheap. It is from Europe, and we have never had an issue with it, knock on wood. I actually looked at ByHeart as one of the formula options for Brooks, and I contemplated using it. I think a lot of influencers use it, so it's very easy to fall into the trap of everyone else is doing it, why don't I do it? If you have been having some anxiety around starting a new formula for your baby, I completely understand. It can be a little bit intimidating, especially if you are used to using something for months or years, but rest assured,
Kendall Mill is great. They have a couple different options as well. So if whole milk formula doesn't work for you, they do have a goat milk option too. It's available at Target. I've seen it at Walmart. Hopefully this helps ease your mind a little bit and everything will be okay.
All baby formula by ByHeart is now being voluntarily recalled because of the concern for infant botulism. There are 2 new cases in addition to the prior 13 that have now been associated with this product. If you are using ByHeart infant formula, stop immediately, switch to a different brand, and any surfaces that formula touch need to be washed with really hot water or washed in the dishwasher. Today is November 11th. 2 days ago on November 9th, I talked about the ByHeart recall, which started with 2 batches of infant formula. At that time, there were 13 babies in 10 states. The update is that the California Department of Public Health has preliminarily identified botulism spores in formula. Presumably, it was one of the infants that got botulism that you have to send in samples. Presumably that's the sample that was tested and is positive for botulism. So they have expanded the recall now to all ByHeart products. There are now 2 additional infants in 2 additional states. So we're now at 15 babies in 12 states. This is the ByHeart press release that was put out this morning. I'm going to read some parts of it. We voluntarily recall all ByHeart formula nationwide, including our cans and single serve anywhere pack sticks. This decision was made to ensure baby safety. 100% agree. It's important to know that neither we nor the FDA or CDC have found Clostridium botulinum spores in any unopened can of ByHeart formula, but they have found it in open cans. The decision to broaden our recall comes after a call with the FDA late last night informing us that they found 2 more cases of infant botulism in babies that consumed ByHeart at some point. They're continuing their investigation. They're giving the FDA unrestricted access to their facilities, continuing their own investigation. They do provide some resources for switching formulas. But I would also recommend you talk to your pediatrician. I know this information is scary and botulism is definitely a big deal, but if you fall into this category, it's time to be proactive and focus on a few things. Number 1, get rid of ByHeart baby formula and get a new brand of baby formula. The second thing you need to do is go wash everything that formula would have touched with hot soapy water or throw it into the dishwasher. Number 2, give your pediatrician a call. They probably want to see you, and if they don't want to see you, you definitely want this documented in a baby's chart. Number 3 is to know the signs of botulism. Babies have constipation and then muscle weakness that generally starts from the top and moves down. So decreased eye movements, decreased facial expressions, generalized weakness, poor cry, weak suck, poor feeding. And unfortunately, if it gets to the diaphragm, the breathing muscle, they can have difficulty breathing or stop breathing altogether. We do have an immunoglobulin treatment for botulism. So if baby does develop it, we do have a way to manage it in addition to supportive care. This is really important information. If babies under a year drank this formula, especially within the last month, their parents need to know.
ByHeart Formula has officially recalled all of their formula products nationwide due to a growing number of infant botulism cases across the USA. Let's talk about it. My name is Dr. Amanda Kravitz. I'm a board-certified pediatrician working in New York City. A couple days ago, some batches of ByHeart formula were recalled due to a potential link to these rising number of cases of infant botulism. However, as of this morning, the company put out a statement that they are recalling all of their products nationwide. There's been a total of 15 babies across 12 different states that have been diagnosed with infant botulism that is potentially tied to ingesting ByHeart formula. As of this morning, the company officially recommends to discard and stop using any of their products. So what is infant botulism and why should you care? Infant botulism can lead to a severe form of muscle paralysis in babies under the age of 1. This can occur when babies ingest spores from a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. These spores are commonly found in soil, in dirt, and honey, which is why we recommend that babies under the age of 1 do not ingest any honey. The spores themselves are not necessarily dangerous, but babies have immature digestive systems, so when they ingest the spores can actually be converted into toxins. Once your child is older and their digestive system matures, these spores can no longer do anything and are essentially harmless. So this toxin can cause flaccid paralysis or floppy baby syndrome. It can cause a progressively worsening muscle weakness. Oftentimes, the first symptom we see in babies is constipation. Other symptoms include poor feeding, weak cry, droopy eyelids, and even difficulty breathing. The good news is that infant botulism is very treatable. There's an IV medication called botulism immunoglobulin that can be given to your baby in the hospital that reverses these symptoms. The incubation period for botulism is between 3 and 30 days after ingestion. I know that sounds really scary since we just found out about this recall, but I don't want you to worry. So far, they have not been able to identify any botulism spores in the tested cans of ByHeart formula. However, over the next few weeks, monitor your child closely for any of the symptoms that I mentioned. And if you haven't already, switch your baby over to a new formula and discard of any ByHeart products. If you're concerned at all, call your pediatrician right away. I'll be back with more updates as this evolves, so follow me for more.
If you're a parent and you have been on TikTok, you have probably seen all of the talk about ByHeart formula and all of the botulism cases. While this is still an ongoing situation with the FDA and with ByHeart and like investigations going on, and I don't know anything about that side of it, I have worked with ByHeart in the past. So I do feel some sort of obligation to at least talk about it. While we don't currently today still use ByHeart, we did for the first several months of my daughter's life. It truly was a game changer for us because we had a refluxy baby and ByHeart was like the only formula that helped. If you haven't seen it already, ByHeart did recall all of their formula now. This is an update, I think as of yesterday, maybe today, that everything is recalled nationwide, not just the lots that they had initially stated. From what I can see, they're doing this out of an abundance of caution because I think they found a couple more cases of botulism and they just want to make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. So with that being said, if you use ByHeart, stop using it. It is always better to play it safe. I'm not being paid to say any of this. This is all my opinion solely. I have loved my experience with ByHeart in the past, and I think that they are a really great company. And I think that they're doing everything they can right now to make sure that everybody stays safe. Because I have worked with them in the past, I wanted to make sure that I did at least get on here, talk about it, make sure people are aware that they do have a webpage that is being updated all the time to make sure that it has the most accurate information about what's going on in this process. I will have that linked to my bio for you.